I'm so stoked to be here. How are you guys doing today? Doing well? Woo! Awesome. Well, when I was 12 years old, my dad gave me my first camera, the Nikon FG film camera. And I think at that moment, he had no idea that he was creating a little monster. At 16, I had my first big break in the industry, Little League photographer. I was up literally every weekend shooting all the sports teams for all of the soccer games for a whopping $10 an hour. At 17, I ended up joining the yearbook staff, and my image ended up making the cover of the yearbook. So for me, that was like the moment. You know, no longer was I going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a pediatrician, anything remotely predictable. I was gonna embark on the adventure of a lifetime to be a professional photographer. At 18, I went off to college and majored in or business, really. I figured out that I really needed to know the business side of things in order to actually make a living at photography. And then at 20, I went over to London and Prague and studied with a world-renowned fashion photographer. And that's when I really fell in love with fashion photography and the beautiful magic that goes along with it. These are two of my very first fashion photographs, shot with the Nikon D70S camera and the 50mm lens. Those are the only pieces of equipment that I had when I started, and I've since grown my equipment list since then, and it's been quite an adventure. My first real break in the industry was shooting for a TV show, a docu-reality TV show, 2 years out of college. The name of it was Get Out. And basically, we would go to these crazy exotic locations. I spent 4 really long, torturous years photographing swimsuit models for the show in places like Ibiza, Spain, Miami, Puerto Rico, all over the world. So it was a really cool experience, and I just happened to walk into it. I was introduced to a producer who was doing the show, and he needed a still photographer, and I had an editor refer me for the job. So it's amazing as a photographer how you walk into these things, and it's such an adventure. I remember I was so nervous the first time that I shot for the show because it was this huge crew, right? There was about 20 people on set. We had a huge motorhome. I'm thrown into this situation, you know, right out of college. And I can remember being like shaking so much that I had to put my camera on a tripod just to, you know, get my game together to photograph the models. But a funny thing happened throughout this whole process. One of the cinematographers on the show, actually, he's this really nice guy, but he's a big burly guy, and he found that I had a different connection with the models and that they were very comfortable with me when I was shooting. And so eventually, you know, he's filming the video and I'm shooting the stills. So eventually he had me direct all of the models for the show, and he just stood back and filmed them in the process. So this is when I really discovered my style as a photographer, and I really go for that connection. You can see people look very comfortable in the images. I really go to great lengths to connect with my subjects, and that's what I really love about photography. And throughout this whole process, I sort of discovered that style. And you know, some models are more energetic, and I try to really bring that out in the imagery, and then others are more serious. So I'm really trying to not only make the clothes look good, what little clothes sometimes they do have on, and you know, really bring out their personality, their real raw personality in the imagery. So it's been quite an adventure, and I would love to show you guys a quick video. I did a shoot recently for a company called Virgin Pulse. It's one of Richard Branson's many companies, and it's basically a healthcare system that, you know, people can buy into that healthy lifestyle. So the art director with the ad agency wanted me to bring to life people having fun at the office. So really and truly, nothing represents what it's like to work with me on set better than this video. We have a lot of fun in the process, a lot of dancing. Keep in mind, these are all real people. They're not professional models. So it's a really fun adventure.
I find myself in last place when I want to be first, because I want to move forward but I'm stuck in reverse. I keep on winding the clock, but it only gets worse, and it hurts and it hurts and it hurts. I thought I knew the whole thing, but I was wrong the whole time. I kept on losing my place cause I was stuck in rewind instead of leading the path. I find I'm falling behind, but I was blind, I was blind, I was blind. So now I'm traveling forward, facing the facts with the wind at my back. Oh, oh, it's my decision, my decision. Oh, oh, my heart is on a mission, heart is on a mission. I walk through the fire to learn my vision. My heart is on a mission, heart is on a mission. Heart is on a mission. Heart is on a mission. Things can't stay this way forever. It's bound to get better, bound to get better. Things can't stay this way forever. It's bound to get better, bound to get better. I find myself in last place when I wanna be first, because I wanna move forward, but I'm stuck in reverse. I keep on winding the clock, but it only gets worse, and it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. Heart is on a mission. Heart is on a mission. Heart is on a mission. Heart is on a mission.
Did you guys notice the Vaseline? Sorry. Did you guys notice the Vaseline on the lens? Any of you? Or not on the lens, on the filter. Never put it on the lens. You'll never get it off. The art director actually wanted lens flare in every single shot, even on the inside shots. So I ended up having to find this, old film trick. And if you put Vaseline on your filter and you shine a light on it, it actually creates natural lens flare. So it's kind of a fun tip. So this is just a basic shot of my gear bag. I have been a Nikon shooter for my entire life. Like I said, I love the glass. I only use prime lenses. I don't use zooms. And the reason is I like to be my own walking zoom. So if I want to take a close-up, I walk forward. If I want to take a wider angle shot, I walk backwards. The reason why is I feel like it makes me more creative. I have to be more sort of in the zone of what I'm doing, and also the prime lenses are so ridiculously sharp. So I use those a lot. I'm working with the D4S camera a lot and the Nikon D810 camera. So that's just kind of the basic setup. I currently share a studio space in Dallas with 6 other photographers, and it keeps the overhead really low so that I can travel and do what I love. I literally pay $350 a month for the space, which is nothing. I mean, it's amazing. And I have an online calendar. We can book time whenever we need it, and it's really worked out really very well. So I've worked with the space about 5 years now. And this is just my editing station at my house, so I can roll out of bed and edit images, do retouching, and it's worked out really well, because I'm usually gone at least half the month of every month, so I'm traveling all the time, and it's just kind of a nice hub where I don't have to go into the office. So this is an interesting time lapse. Have you guys ever worked with time lapse? It's such a cool tool. I just threw my camera up in the balcony, and this is literally for one shot of this calendar that I was shooting. So there's a huge cast of characters that I get to work with these days. And keep in mind that I started with just me and my subject, and I've since grown my team to include makeup artist, wardrobe stylist, hair and wardrobe, hair and makeup, digitex, lighting guys. I mean, the list goes on. It's crazy when you can work with a big production. And a lot of people think that this would be intimidating, but it's actually really refreshing because everyone is there to help you create your imagery. And when everyone is on the same page, everyone is working towards that great image, it's really an amazing process to get to have this whole team of people around you. So it's been really fun, and you can see here that the light was coming out, and so and that's my assistant, that's Nico. He had to finish the time lapse, so it's always an adventure. So for every shoot that I do a vision board. How many of you guys have heard of a vision board? It's basically, I do these in person. It's like the old school Pinterest. I put them on a bulletin board. Now I use Pinterest a lot as well. And basically this helps the entire team get on the same page. So when I'm going into a shoot, we have an inspired idea. I like to get together images that showcase like the hair and makeup, the wardrobe, and the styling. So that really helps everyone see the process and see what I'm trying to create. I'm not looking to copy any of these images. I'm just looking to take bits and pieces in order to create my own vision. So it really helps when I'm going into shoots. So this past summer, I was approached by Nikon's ad agency in Japan to shoot for their new touchscreen DSLR. I was so excited to work with them on it, and it's really cool to see the touchscreen feature where you can zoom in and out of images. So they wanted me to basically bring to life the fun, hip lifestyle of 20 to 30 somethings. And so it's interesting because they wanted real people as talent. They didn't want models, so we did a casting at the local college, found 4 really great peeps, and they just had a blast with the whole process. One of the challenges of the shoot was that I wasn't able to actually work with the camera until the day of the shoot. So I had to get in there, figure out the settings and everything and go shoot it. We also weren't allowed to do any Photoshop, so I had to make sure and get everything right in camera. But I think it's really nice because it's truth in advertising. You can see the images that it can create, and it was just a really neat process. This was about a 10-day shoot. We had about 25 people on set. And obviously these 4 models who I now know very well. I get to be friends with all the people I shoot because you spend so much time with them. And it was a really fun process. You can see how the colors really pop. And that was one of the big things of shooting for this camera is they really wanted to show image quality and bright colors. So I had the wardrobe stylist pull hipster colorful clothing. And the wardrobe stylist said, hipsters usually aren't that colorful. And I was like, well, in this shoot, they're going to be super colorful. So it's kind of fun. Then sometimes props can really make your images. This dog's name is Dixie, believe it or not. She was my next door neighbor, and I grabbed her for the shoot. I was shooting for an underwater camera, and sometimes that makes the images. Little did I know she would show up with her own goggles and her own doggy outfit, and apparently she models in dog fashion shows. Who would have thought? She even signed her own model release. I'm just kidding. Oh, man. So ultimately, with what I do, I'm a fashion and commercial photographer, but I try to bring my fashion photography view into every single commercial shoot that I do, even with the Nikon shoots, even with all these other clients that I'm shooting for. And fashion photography is all about beauty. It's about bringing out that dream world, which is, very idealistic, but I like to live in that dream world, and that's what I love creating. And lens choice is a big part of that. This took me forever to learn, but lens choice is really important. And for headshots, I primarily try to use longer focal length lenses. So for instance, if you have, say, a 70 to 200, try zooming it to all the way to 200 millimeters, backing up, and then taking your headshot. You will be blown away by the results. Because you can see here, like the 35 millimeter, which is equivalent to your smartphone. That's why people's faces look so distorted when you shoot with a smartphone. So I never usually like to use a wide-angle lens when shooting headshots. So I would at least use an 85 millimeter. You can tell here it's a lot more flattering. You don't get the distortion on her nose and her forehead. And then all of a sudden, I have this old film lens, the 180 millimeter. All of a sudden, it's like, bam, that's a gorgeous headshot. So I love those longer lenses. I utilize them a lot. This was shot with the 180 millimeter. Usually I'll use the 85 for 3/4 length shots and maybe a 50 millimeter for full body shots so you don't get any distortion. And you can see here I like to get high angles. And the reason is whatever is closest to your lens is going to appear larger. So if you're trying to shoot headshots from, say, a low angle, what's closest to the lens? The chin. You don't want to bring out somebody's chin. So when I'm shooting beauty shots, I always get to a higher angle and use that longer lens. It makes all my clients look iconic and beautiful. And then sometimes when I'm shooting full body, I will do, say, a wider lens to exaggerate, her height. I wanted her legs to appear really long in this shot, and so I got to a low angle because it was full body. I wasn't shooting a headshot. It's kind of all about that sort of elongated look. So lens choice is really important, and I've just learned this through trial and error. And I work with a lot of designers, and I love bringing to life the vision. This is an Audrey Hepburn inspired editorial. Really fun shoot. This was about 5 years ago, but it's so classic, it still stays in my portfolio. Keep in mind, we weren't able to actually have her light the cigarette in the bar, and so after the shoot, I Googled how to add smoke to picture, and a YouTube tutorial came up and showed me how to do it. So that's a lot of my photography, is just figuring things out, doing a lot of problem solving, and just having fun with it. So I use a lot of natural light. I mean, if the light is beautiful in a location, I'm not gonna go and overly complicate it. And I love that lens flare look. It's always beautiful. Just one light can be really, really effective. This is just a beauty dish over to the right-hand side, and you can get that beautiful, moody look. Oh my gosh. And this is also one light. This is just an HMI light. And basically, HMIs are the kind of lights that you use on movie sets. And it's just basically putting your sun wherever you want it. It's a really beautiful light. It is huge, so you gotta have an assistant to help you with it. Really important. And you can kind of get that raw look. This was just for a modeling agency, and they like that raw look that you can just, all your emphasis goes to the model and not the clothes in this particular thing when you're shooting for agencies. And then this was my first campaign that I ever shot. It was in LA at Union Station for a shoe company called Florsheim Shoes. It was funny because the model lied on her comp card, the female model, and she said she was a lot shorter than she was, and she showed up on set and she towered over the guys. So that was an interesting experience because I had to figure out how to put her in the background and make her appear shorter than all the guys in these images. And the ad agency actually added a lot of that kind of HDR look, which was really in when I shot this. Then I do a lot of different things for different jewelry companies. It's important to shoot at like f8 when you're shooting jewelry so that the jewelry and the model are in focus. And I've just been learning this through trial and error, so you can still get that beautiful mood with the model and the jewelry. And then sometimes you are hired to shoot for very interesting products, like bathroom spray. This was for a hilarious client called Poopery. Really fun brand, really, really fun. And they wanted me to bring to life their brand. And we were doing the casting, and this model walks in. She's awesome. She walks in, and she tells the client, "I want to be the next Pooh girl." I started dying laughing, and of course, the client casted her for the job because she was like super excited about it and all ready to go. So we had a really fun time during this shoot, and I'd love to show you guys the quick behind-the-scenes video from this photo shoot.
I make my days, my nights. That's when my heart gets pumping. I'll take you for a ride. My nights only just started. Show me some place I like. Make me feel like I'm dreaming. Oh, and I won't wake up. Though I don't know where to go. Night ain't never done much for me, but lead me down a lonely road. Hit the light so I can see that I'm a little sunshine. La, 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 la. Little sunshine. I'm a little sunshine. La, why are your eyes still closed? Can't do much when we're sleeping. I'll wake you up and show the night is where my heart is. You won't need daylight to feel like I'm close to me. And we'll stay out. Though I don't know where to go. Night ain't never done much for me, but lead me down a lonely road. Hit the light so I can see that you and me are company. Not to make the sun explode, but lose the lights in harmony. In the night I'll have control. 'Cause I'm a little sunshine.
He was like,
Shut
and then he found the evidence.
So that was a fun one. Always interesting, you know, as a photographer, you're thrown into all these crazy situations and, you know, hired to promote random products like bathroom spray. So anyways, I know that I am running out of time, but you know, sometimes I really get to shoot for some fun clients. Like this was for Woodland Worldwide, and basically it's the REI of India, and they flew from India to Dallas, Texas, of all places. We shot in the Fort Worth stockyards. Really fun shoot, and they decided 2 days before the shoot that they wanted an Airstream in every single shot. So I posted on Facebook, who has an Airstream that we can use? Believe it or not, someone actually responded, and we got an Airstream for the shoot. So it's amazing the tools that we have today to create our imagery and really you know, work with different people. I do a ton of different casting from Facebook as well, for models, for makeup artists. It's a really great tool. So how many of you guys have heard of color balance? Any of you? I use this a lot in my work, and so the use of complementary colors, you know, colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, really makes your images pop. It gives them a lot of visual impact. So for instance, if you use the colors orange and turquoise or bluish colors together in the same image, this is why she looks so three-dimensional. She pops off the frame. So when I'm shooting in color, I like to use a lot of complementary colors in my work. You can see the red and the green here really work well. They're very, very vibrant, and it really makes it stand out. Color is an amazing tool, especially for adding emotion to your imagery. Red is a very powerful color, so you have to be very careful how you use red in your images. And then I also, you know, I framed this guy out with that dartboard because he's framed by the color red, so all your emphasis goes to his eyes, and it sort of frames him out in the image. Then sometimes just adding a pop of color like yellow. I picked these out at the store right before the shoot, and they ended up being a really important part of this image. So I'm always looking for different ways to make more visual impact in my imagery. And then I'm all about connection. It's so interesting working with different talent, getting to know different people, and I really go to great lengths to connect with my subjects. So I research them beforehand. You know, I do a lot of figuring out what sort of music they like, what hobbies are they into, because all of these things help me create this environment where they feel free to express themselves during the shoot. So it really, really helps. And this was a shoot for Piper's Perfumery, and currently they're running these in InTouch magazine, which is a really neat process. So I've got to wrap up here, but ultimately fashion photography is such an adventure, and what I love about it is there's no rules, no boundaries. It's just pure self-expression, and that's what I really love creating. These images break all the rules. They have some gnarly lens flare, especially this one. And but that's what I love about it. There's no rules. You can just basically create your dreams and imagery. So thank you guys so much for having me. So appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you.